We're good now.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We have a forum here. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So I'll make a motion.
Mark made a motion.
I'll second it.
Second it. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, this is the continued meeting for repairs in DD 18. Well, we met a few months ago and questions, comments from all you gentlemen, ladies. So Colton, let's let you guys take the floor again.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I handed out to you all the first 2 pages of the amendment that we submitted. The full copy is with the auditor's office. It has the plans that we've submitted as well and the full cost estimates. It would have been a lot to print out, so I'm giving you these first 2 kind of summary pages. And on this back page, you have, this is an alignment sheet. So, and I apologize for them being difficult to differentiate. But the tile alignment is the one with the arrows on it. And the ditch alignment, you can see has multiple lines, kind of showing what the width of the ditch from bank to bank would be on there. So just to remind everybody, drainage district, this is drainage district 18. You can see on the map where it is, but it's southwest of Joyce. It's a tile district that was made in 1914, established in 1914. We're here today because, well, back in 2016, it was petitioned for an improvement. There was a report filed, and then that was dropped. And then here last year, I think it was petitioned again. So we had a meeting about 6 weeks ago where we asked you all what your thoughts are and what you wanted to see potentially in the district. And I would come back with these options. So the options we've outlined here there's 3 different tile options and then an open ditch option as well. The 3 tile options range from a 1/2 inch DC, that's a drainage coefficient, which is how many inches of water per acre of ground that it will drain per day. And that goes up to 3/4 into a 1 inch DC. The agricultural standard in Iowa since the 50s has been a 1/2 inch DC. But it doesn't really hurt to go with more drainage. It does cost more to install larger pipe. So I've given you on the map, you can see the alignment of that tile. No matter which side of the tile you choose, that alignment would stay the same. Obviously, if we go forward with a tile and landowners have concerns about the alignment, we'd like to hear that. But that's how that goes. The grade of the tile would change slightly from size to size, but the tile alignment would stay the same. So you can see there, the 1/2 inch coefficient is estimated to have a construction total cost of $1.44 million. The 3/4 inch, $1.84 million, and the 1 inch, $2.1 million. Now, the open ditch option, open ditch will give you the most capacity, will help you the most with your surface drainage. This district is watershed in this district only encompasses about 1,400 acres. So from a capacity standpoint, an open ditch isn't required, and we'd normally recommend a tile. Open ditches do give you more capacity, and they aren't that expensive to construct, but the problem is that when you run an open ditch, you have to buy right of way, and you also have to pay severance when you've severed somebody's farm by placing an open ditch through it, and that adds a lot of the costs. So that's why the total estimated cost for the open ditch is very comparable to the 1 inch coefficient tile at $1.95 million. I believe the severance and right of way, what we estimated, those costs were about $1 million. So the construction cost of it is about $900,000, and the right of way and severance is another $1 million on top of that. So with that, I'd like to open it up to you guys. You know, we have several options on the table. I guess I should say what we specifically recommend. We recommend doing the 1/2 inch tile. It is the drainage standard. It is the cheapest option. And on top of that, we can do a grass waterway. That costs about $300 a station, $350 a station, so that's every 100 feet, about $3 or $3.50 to grade that out. That would help alleviate surface drainage. Part of the lands through here, I believe it's the lands belonging to Beverly Land Co. already has a surface drain in it, or not surface drain, a waterway. When we install a tile, we're gonna tear that up, getting in there to install a tile anyway, so that would have to be repaired regardless. So we're not adding a ton of cost by putting in a waterway from like Cardinal Avenue here in the middle of the page down to the outlets. And that would help somewhat with the surface drainage issues as well. We could take the waterway higher if we want to, if there's interest in that. But yeah, I'd like to hear, does anybody have any questions about the proposals?
Well, since you're on the waterways part,
Yes.
we've looked into that, north of 838 there. And we just don't have enough balls with the water there.
Yeah, it is very flat. Yeah, if we did it, we'd probably be stopping at Cardinal Avenue where that current waterway stops.
How deep would that waterway be? Would it be crossable with farm machinery? Would it be
Yeah.
Dry?
It would be crossable. I don't know exactly how deep it would be, but the goal is that it would be designed to be crossable. It'd be like an NRCS waterway.
How wide would it be?
Don't know, we haven't actually designed it, we've only estimated the cost. The ditch is about 50 feet wide, I'd say it'd be in that ballpark, but obviously much shallower.
Would you have to purchase the right of way for that as well?
That- That's an open question, if we have it, make it a farmable waterway, then no. If we make it a grass waterway, then we would pay something.
Does anybody know that Beverly Land, they have a waterway there, is that in a program now?
No.
It's not?
And it is a grass waterway currently. I would recommend doing a grass waterway. On the way down.
What would be the difference if we just plan straight through it, put a couple intakes down that, down look right there, and I mean, what's the difference with that versus the waterway?
The only difference would be that the district would come in while they were installing the tile and do some grading, help it flow a little better across the surface.
What if you did, so you could farm straight through it
Mhm.
and grade it still?
Yeah.
You know, and keep up the water.
Yeah,
Because at that point, you're losing out on 10 acres probably of farm ground.
it wouldn't
There's a
be,
waterway there.
yeah, it wouldn't be that much. That many acres.
I don't know, maybe 40 feet right now. Yeah. Pretty wide. 60 feet.
I don't think it would be that many acres, but yeah, that would be, we would still cut it as if we were gonna have a grass waterway on it, but then we'd leave it to be farmed over, which is the idea.
Yeah. The grass waterway, who pays for maintenance, like, we control stuff like that.
It would be the district.
We got a program going, we would just probably include that in our spray program to keep up on it. I guess with that being said, we spray for trees mostly. So I guess if there was more, which would be more weed control. I guess if somebody did it, they could come to us and just bring the bill to us most likely, and the district would pay for it. As long as everybody's okay with that. Cause that's different type of spraying, I guess, between trees and weeds, so. Who's ever farming it, probably, if you're. Want to do the weed control on it, you could get reimbursed for that through the district, so.
What's the objective today, to decide which one to send bids out on, or are you gonna send bids out to all?
Yeah, we wanna decide which one we wanna do, which one plan to. Today, we could bid them all out. If that was something people were interested in, but it'd be more expensive because we'd have to make, right now we have designs, we don't have construction grade plans. So whichever one you choose, we have to touch it up, we have to write up specs, we have to make it ready for bids. If we have to put all 4 options out for bids, you know, there's more engineering costs, but that's about the only issue with the minutes.
How about that severance pay that you talked about, you know? For the land, what's it called, severance? you call it?
Yeah, severance,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if it's, is that something that people can sign off on, is that some option, or maybe people want to do it out?
right, yeah, if people did wanna waive their severance rights, that would be something that would help the district lower costs. I should add, now that I thought about it, the open ditch. There are a lot more unknowns with it, so we've been in contact, we did a design one call, found out all the utilities crossing there, there are 7 gas lines crossing, including like a 36-inch gas line. So if we went with the open ditch, instead of creating plans and getting this out to bid immediately, we would need to wait until crops were out in the fall, come in, find those gas lines, and then redesign our ditch accordingly. The other thing with designing a brand new ditch is, the environmental agencies are gonna they'd have to go over design, and they're probably gonna modify it. So there will be added expense that we have not estimated likely in the ditch. Because they might ask for things like, check dams, things like that in there. And then lastly, the railroad would still be an issue. That was this was what we talked about this 6 weeks ago. The railroad would probably need to replace their bridge through there, which would be at the railroad's expense, but it would take time for them to do that. So it would take time before we could start construction, because you don't want to dig an open ditch and then have it outlet to nowhere for a couple years. While they're putting in this new bridge. So because where it currently crosses will have to be deepened.
So
So,
what did the pipeline natural gas say about their?
yeah, yeah, so we've been in contact with them, they have concerns. So usually their drainage district has right of way to do what they need to do and then move utilities under it. I don't know, I'm a little uncertain, I'm not a drainage lawyer. I'm uncertain because we're going from a tile to a ditch, we changed the nature of the district facility. You know, does our right of way still hold? Do they still have to move for us? I don't know if Jacob has anything he'd like to say about that, but our understanding is that they would move for us, but it would take them time. Rerouting a 36-inch gas line would take some time.
Probably gonna happen whether you go with an open ditch or a 36-inch tile.
Maybe, I mean, our current tile isn't too far away from the existing, and we're within a foot or so across, in depth. So it's possible we would have to.
What's in there now? Is it 18 again or 24? That's in the ground.
The gas lines?
No.
Oh, top, what is it now? It is. I wanna say it's a 24. It's a 20. It's a 20-inch, at the outlet, you're getting 0.07 inches per acre per day, which is 15% of that half-inch coefficient. So that, you know, your drainage would be substantially improved even by going to a half-inch.
So like Mark said, if you go on 36, that pipe, gas pipe might have to be cleaned, but nobody knows. Right? If you go to that back 36-inch tile, still might have to.
Yeah, we'd have to dig it up. I'm assuming that we would, because we're only going about a foot. And they wouldn't, when they put those gas lines in, they wouldn't put it there close to our site, generally speaking. So we should have some leeway there to put in a tile. When you dig a ditch, you're digging deeper, you're trying to get underneath all those tile. I'd show you on the ditch design, but in some parts of the ditch, because of the way the grades work out, we are 3 or 4 feet underneath the existing tile. So we can get enough fall and get enough slope in the ditch. So there is a difference between how much the gas lines might affect us.
With the tile, are you thinking you'll be able to get more grade on it? Because when you get up in the top end of it, it's really flat.
Yeah, so. Can't remember what the tile grade is. So when we design for a coefficient, we go reach by reach is what we call it. We break up the watershed into different reaches, which are like sub watersheds. And then we make sure that when we put the pipe into that reach, we're getting a 1/2 inch coefficient there. And to get that coefficient, it's really a function of pipe size and. So, and then the other thing that you have to keep in mind is tile depth. You don't want to be too deep or too shallow. So that's what we're keeping in mind when we design it. So yeah, we should be getting a 1/2 inch all the way to the top. To get that depth we need though, we are gonna end up deepening the ditch that's east of the railroad tracks currently. And that, when this design was originally submitted in 2017, that ditch was deeper than it was actually dug out. So we have the leeway to do that without doing it. There shouldn't be any legal issues with doing that.
Do you know what size the tile would be when it gets up? This, where this water stands up here, what the tile size would be? And with the 1/2 inch coefficient?
Yeah, we brought a couple plan sets with us. We can, and if anybody has questions too, we'll be around after the meeting also. Yeah, they. Up by that.
Yeah.
Very wet area. This is 30 inch. So. Yeah, it's 30 inch until 107, until it gets almost to where it starts sweating. The other thing is the 2017 design included branch tiles off the main. We have not included any of those in the cost estimate. This estimate's only to put in the main tile. It can be cheaper to run branches privately. Of course, you have to have, landowner agreement to do that, so.
The district pays the severance and right away. They pay that $1 million. Where does that $1 million go to?
So that goes to the landowners that,
So it would be effectively taken back off.
yeah, it's and that is. It's somewhat tricky because it's the district paying itself. It's really the landowners that don't have a facility through them paying landowners to do. So when just for your information, so when I said it was a 30 inch through there, that's for the 1/2 inch. You go bigger, it's like 36, you go 1 inch, I think it's 32 probably. I have not personally, Jacob Hagan, who's the engineer, he's on Zoom right now. He recently had a baby, so he's staying home. But he has seen this. You have a specific question about that?
If there isn't something done there soon. Will be a ditch through the railroad,
Yeah,
and the bridge will be wider. It's caving in on the sides.
right,
The railroad will end up doing something.
okay,
The outlet is basically under the tracks right now.
okay. That's something we can contact the railroad about, whether or not we need permits for an open ditch or not, going through whether we do it tile or not. I guess the other thing with doing an open ditch, we've included some riprap costs and some of the places where the ditch turns and kinks. By that, where it enters near that railroad bridge is gonna be heavily armored with riprap. Because right now, as we have it designed, we have it teeing into that spot, so that we're gonna use about 100 tons of riprap there probably. To armor that, to hopefully slow it down and reduce further erosion. But that's something else that's taken into account in the cost estimate. Yeah, and then if we do a tile, we are deepening the ditch downstream of the railroad. But yeah, that's good to know that the railroad bridge, probably something needs to be done regardless. But if you do a tile, you're not directly impacted by that, so that railroad bridge. It will impact your surface flows, like say if something happens to it, say if it collapses on itself because it washed out. Tile, we are boring through the railroad. It'll be a lot quicker to do than waiting for the railroad to build their own bridge. We'll just get the permits and then we'll do the boring. Railroad will have flaggers and people like that they'll require to get on site. But, basically that railroad bridge will not affect the tile outlet if the district chooses to go with a tile option.
In that estimate for the open ditch, is that including the road crossing?
It is not including the road crossings. Those are a separate cost to the county. And if we do an open ditch, those are gonna be some box culverts that we're gonna have to work with Rich on designing. But those costs do go to secondary roads, just like the railroad costs go to the railroad.
I'm curious to see what the interest would be if an open ditch was decided, who would be willing to forego their payment? If that's a big part of it too. Across mine, I have a 60-foot river regardless when it rains, if I have a ditch on the tile. So it really doesn't matter. If I'm containing it in something smaller than, the whole thing, but I was just curious to see if there was interest in, if everybody would be willing to do that.
Right. So with the open ditch, we're not gonna be able to come back and give final cost estimate until we've gone through the DNR process, until we've gotten our permits, until we've looked at the gas lines. So, if people do move towards wanting an open ditch, what we would recommend is continuing the hearing. Unspecified date, we would re-notify everybody, because we have to wait on these permits, we have to wait on getting locations, and then we come back and present that to everybody again. And that would give time, if landowners want to get together and talk about right of way incentives, we can do that. The district will have to acquire right of way either way, but you would be waiving buying it. Maybe you waive severance instead of right of way. The way we've estimated it, I think severance was probably 2/3 of that cost versus buying right of way. So waiving severance would take a significant chunk out of that. So like probably $500,000 or so.
One other thing to consider too, on an open ditch, that splits your field in half, you are now responsible for any crossings on that ditch. The landowners are responsible, not the district. So if you do an open ditch, it splits your 80 right in half, you're gonna have to put a crossing in somewhere, it's now yours. So just keep that consideration too, for future.
And I would question that.
That's,
You did put a crossing in that ditch already. Of mine.
the district paid for it?
That was something different, that was KSP, right?
What?
That was KSP, wasn't it? No?
The new ditch that was going in the bottom of 18. You looked through that.
I don't, must have been before me, so I don't remember that, but it probably shouldn't have been, cause legally. Iowa drainage code says that it's landowner responsibilities to
That's the standard in all the
maintain the
counties
crossing.
we work in. And then the other thing with that is you'll have to, if you want to put a crossing in, you'll have to get permission from the district first, because we have to look at whether it's sized properly. With this ditch, because you don't actually need a ditch capacity wise, I don't think they're not gonna require bridges or anything. It would be culverts, which would be cheaper. But that is something to keep in mind.
And if they had to go back in, it could get torn out and you'd have to put it back in again.
Yeah, only if it's too small or not at the right grade. So if you submit your crossing design to us, we sign it off, it should be good unless we come back later and decide to deepen the ditch, which would take one of these hearings, go through the whole process again, and I don't foresee that being a need. Because the ditch doesn't need more capacity. It just needs to be under tile, really.
Well, which direction would you folks like to go?
It's hot in here, it's hard to think.
We're putting the pressure on you, we should have the air conditioner off. Yeah.
I really like the idea of an open ditch. But from what I'm kind of getting from you is that this almost $2 million bid will probably go up when you figure out dealing with the pipeline and
Yeah, I mean, we never really know what we're gonna get from contractors. on bids. You know, sometimes we get 70% of our estimate, sometimes we're a little over our estimate. But yeah, what we would estimate the cost to be would probably go up. Unless, you know, people sign off on severance or something like that, in which case you're cutting a significant chunk out of it.
well, I personally would like to see that moving forward. I mean, I would like to see an actual bid. The open bid.
Yeah,
I have been, what we decided on subjects, but is there any, as far as modification to these plans, just curious, like, just seeing this open ditch continuing to run northwest?
Yeah.
Could you ever stop it here to not split that one? And then even this main tile, we had installed a private one coming across here.
okay.
I don't know if that would need to be,
That was a 15-inch that went from that grass down there up to the black.
we came across kitty corner and
Okay.
stop right
You
here.
know, so it's basically taken this out of it.
Sure. I forgot to mention that with our open ditch design, when we ended it here, we also continued the tile where it's endpoint on the tile plan. And that's an 18-inch tile and a half inch. So if you have a
So you have
15-inch
15 from here that goes through this pocket and cuts across and through.
Sure.
So I don't know that we'd have the need certainly for that,
Sure. Yeah, that could definitely be all.
especially if this is only an 18. I'm just thinking something flow.
Um, I guess, are there any other landowners that want that tile crossing? It goes south from the end of where the ditch and the tile alignment make a peak, make a corner on the northwest side, northwest corner of the page. Tile goes to the south through there. Would any other landowners we be opposed to not having that district tile? I guess the only reason I ask it, it does seem that there's already tile there, so it's not exactly practical to have a district tile there, but district tile does, you know, give more people access.
I mean, could we leave the existing district tile in? Because I mean, we didn't do anything with that. We just put 15 from the blacktop down to the main down here. So, you know, it basically cut that off. You know, it basically went from down here to up here, kind of kitty corner.
So you tie it into the district tile.
Yeah. And so this is still active. This part of it, it's just the old part of the tile.
Sure.
So basically, I would say from over here, that has access to a 15 and whatever the old tile is here.
Yeah, I mean, another option would be the district could annex that tile and say build the maintenance of it. And then it would be a district tile and everything's kind of hunky-dory all the way to here, but yeah.
I mean, I don't know, it doesn't, wouldn't really matter to me one way or another, what everybody thinks, but it would definitely cut some cost.
All the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
All the way from here.
18 is not
Yeah,
a whole lot more capacity.
right. I think they actually were stopped short. Because it looks like we're gonna the tracks, so there's a bridge that's gonna be placed. It looks like they're gonna stop right here.
Push right there, over to there, down to the main down here, so this whole deal, I don't know. That could probably stay the way it is, so we can not do anything with that, so like it worked. Yeah.
Maybe there'd be some cost,
Yeah.
there'd be some cost extending north to.
Yeah, a little bit,
To a new tile or.
but it would cut some costs anyway.
So yeah, I would err on removing that part of the plan. Either way, ditch or tile, we take that section of the tile out. Seeing it's how it's already served. Unless anybody has any objections to that. Does everybody know where the tile we're talking about is? Does everybody tell?
They're both in there, down to there, they haven't found it across, so this part, I don't think you have. Right. So I don't. It makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing.
Speaking for Beverly Land Company, I would say that our preference is not to have it. Especially whenever the engineer is saying that 36-inch tile is going to improve the current drainage. We'd rather not have it farmed that half.
Sure.
And they aren't sitting here with me, so I don't know the answer for sure. As far as foregoing their severance, I would say that's probably likely. Not.
Sure.
Be it. Okay. We can talk about it, but I don't think that would.
Yep.
You guys at farm, we like them, probably a pack, whether that matters than negative. We don't really, but the supplemental ditch helps, you know, with big rains, maybe that's a good.
Yeah, it will help somewhat. Like if you have potholes in your field, it's not gonna necessarily help. Because that's gonna be dependent on your tile drainage anyway. Anything that can flow directly to the ditch, it is gonna help, or it's gonna help in that immediate vicinity.
I don't think it's gonna help on the top end as flat as we are. Nothing going through marks as well. I don't think it's gonna help anybody upstream from
Yeah,
Cardinal there because it's so flat.
and that's kind of the difficult thing about doing this ditch is that when a district has a ditch because it needs it from a capacity standpoint. There's a clear cutoff point where it's like, okay, we're gonna switch to a tile. We're done doing the ditch, we're not paying severance, we're not doing any of that now. With this, it's kind of arbitrary. And if we could end the ditch sooner, but it'd be a little unfair. Some could see it as unfair because we dug a ditch for one person, maybe somebody upstream wanted a ditch and didn't get it. And then there's severance and all that money involved, so. Yeah.
What's your best guess of time of completion between doing a 36-inch or doing an open ditch? You know, if the open ditch is gonna take 2 or 3 years down the road,
Yeah,
you know, this project isn't gonna cost the same 2 or 3 years from now, like it does now.
so if we
We should
do
have
it,
done it last time, whenever it was 40% cheaper.
yeah,
than
so
now.
if we left here today agreeing to do a tile waterway combo of some kind. We would get that bid in about 6 weeks, and then as soon as the contract is signed after the bids, they could get started, and we'd probably set a completion date. I probably next spring before planning. I think that would give them enough time to do it this fall, before it frosts. We don't like doing winter work necessarily. We think we get better bids on when there's not frost in the ground, even accounting for crop damages. We think it comes out cheaper without having frost, since contractors don't like working with it.
And by the time you go through the natural gas stuff and all that, that's automatically November by the time the crops are out to investigate.
Yeah,
Then start the design process on that, go to bids. You're lucky to see like March probably before.
yeah, and we would be waiting on the railroad for their bridge.
Yeah.
And we don't have the right to tell them how fast they can do that, really.
They're gonna work at their speed, trust us. Trust us.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Okay.
Oh, I live in Big B.
It averages. I wanna say it's about 50 feet for the run of it.
The other side of the.
Yeah, from bank to bank.
But you're also gonna have price from grass out from there.
You can farm it. You're gonna have some spoil. so we try to level the spoil at about 6-to-1 slope, so you're gonna have about 15 feet of flat near the top of the bank, and then spoil at a 6-to-1 slope from there. It should be farmable. Obviously, it probably helps the ditch to not have, to have a little bit of a buffer there, keeps sediment from going in the ditch, and you have to maintain it less. This ditch, because from a capacity standpoint, this is such a small ditch. We estimate that with normal flows in the ditch, you're gonna be seeing inches of water in there, maybe not even. Your grass will grow in the bottom of this ditch. Which means if you have a series of big storms and you have big erosion events, the water is gonna be slowed down by that grass and you're gonna have more silt deposited. You might end up maintaining this ditch a little more than you would a normal ditch. Usually ditches get maintained every 30 to 40 years. This one might be more like every 20 to 30. But obviously your maintenance costs for the tile too. Although hopefully not as much as we have with plate pipe from 9 years ago. All of our costs, we did reinforced concrete pipe. We talked about this last hearing, but we find that once you bid all the rock that's required to bed a HDPE pipe, a plastic pipe, you're cheaper coming out with a concrete pipe. And it's just a more proven product, you know, it should last 150, 200 years.
Well, none of us should have to see repair on it.
Well, I mean, hopefully, I mean,
Does that count for tying everybody else's tile back in to that, to get all laterals and all that?
yeah.
Is that right? For all.
So we have estimated that, obviously, we don't know all the private tile in the field, so I think I estimated 50 private tile connections along the run of this ditch. And we'd have to, if we get matched landowners, we can take a plastic pipe into the field to grab it. So parts of the ditch are gonna, you know, the old tile is gonna cross the ditch in several places, so on some parts of the ditch, the tile will be on the left side, some parts of the ditch will be on the right side, and it kind of varies how far it is, so we'll have to run the plastic tile to grab those tiles, as soon as we can find them. And then, yeah, the old district's lateral tiles, we'll be tying those in as well. So we'll try to tie in as much tile as we can, and we have included that in our process as best as we can.
Any other questions or concerns? Guidance for us? It's up to you guys, we'll do whatever we can to make it better, you guys yourselves, what do you want us to do?
Well, personally, I'd personally like to see either a ditch or a 3/4 coefficient. I think we keep putting tile on the ground and.
You gotta go on the heavy side? Understood.
I would. But just me.
Anybody else?
I'd like to see a big open ditch and 3/4.
Like an open ditch to Cardinal Avenue or so, and, or,
Probably always, all okay.
probably the whole way you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
I would too, but I'd like everybody to participate in saving everybody some money.
I'll go along with it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It doesn't for that reason, does it? Isn't really fair for everybody. It's kind of a one for all deal with everybody having to work together.
We need to separate off that sediments from the actual cost of the ditch. I'd like to see maybe those numbers.
Yeah, and you can, so I handed Val, she has 5 copies of our amendment. Those have the cost estimates and have the plans in them. You can check those out. here after the meeting, whatever.
So is that broken down per entity or per farm or
No,
the severance?
no, we didn't do that. And truthfully, we didn't do that on purpose, because we prefer the district comes to a collective decision than landowners kind of thinking, oh, you know, seeing dollar signs, so.
Well, I'm just thinking that if most people would forego it, I mean, it'd be interesting to know how much would come off. Is what I'm, yeah, is why I'm thinking that, because, I mean, it doesn't sound like you guys be willing to
I don't
do
know,
that.
sure, it's not my fault.
Right.
It's up to them.
Right, if you guys figure out who's willing to sign on and who's not, and then you can email or call us and we can get you a number.
Can you remind us again how that's calculated? Percentage of land value for the entire farm unit?
Yeah, so right away we calculate, we haven't, so if we were doing this, if we decide to do this, we would use, there'd be commissioners or appraisers, I think they're called. We would get legit appraisers, somebody who works in real estate, to help us appraise, and then we would need to survey, find everybody's property pins, do real survey, get in there, make sure it's done right. For our estimates purposes, we took the average cost of farmland in Worth County from the Iowa State Ag Decision Maker. And then for right of way, we assumed buying it at 110% of that cost. And for severance, we assumed 5% of total farm. So that's all of the connected parcels together. So if you have a 240, 5% of that value there. If you have an 80, it's 5% of that value. That's how it's estimated.
You're basically saving yourself some money on the project if you forego it. And it really doesn't matter unless you're planning on selling your farm in the next couple of years. If you're gonna keep it, it really doesn't matter. You're just putting that money into the drainage and improving the drainage. That's my point.
It's basically paying itself.
Right.
You're gonna pay us and we're gonna pay you back.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen. Whatever your percentage of the use of the main or the ditch would be, you know, you may pay 100,000, you might get 70 back. Just kind of depends how it all plays out. So.
So I guess it sounds like there's a lot more interest in an open ditch. So I would recommend we continue the hearing until we can investigate the pipeline, until we can submit our design to the DNR, get our permits back, and then come back. Now, that'll give time for you all to figure out the severance thing. And then at that time, if we feel the ditch is too expensive, we can always change our mind. Near the time.
We're probably looking at winter
Yeah,
at some point. By the time fall comes, crops are out, do the investigating. Give the DNR permitting.
yeah, sometime in November and December. Probably be easiest to just re-notify everybody.
Okay.
Just a question, thinking that if you did an open ditch, how would that slow down siltation? This ditch dumps into 723, and you guys didn't know, we got somebody requesting reclaim part of 23 because of siltation towards the bottom. So, you know, you're talking an open waterway, not just even farming over it. Increasing siltation down the ditch, increasing costs for, we're all paying for that district, so it's something to think about. I would think with an open ditch maybe, or a large tile, maybe that would help. Too, but that open ditch would slow some of that surface water down that's going across there now. And somewhere all that siltation came to in less than 9 years. That we're gonna be looking at doing that, so.
That's 23 was 9 years ago. We got to stretch at 23. We're gonna have you guys look into, so it's probably gotta get cleaned out again.
Just the bottom end is a low area down there. I don't think there's any. I think it's a flat area that water don't went to.
Sure. Yeah, and The grades on our plans on this ditch, it's all between 0.14 and 0.18%. Or no, I guess there's a stretch of it that's 0.1. So it's got some grade on it to keep the water moving, but there's gonna be grass growing in the bottom of it. Which will slow it down somewhat. Just because there's not enough water depth to keep the grass out.
Okay. Got the consensus then, we'll have these guys look into the open ditch. We will continue the hearing, but it will be, we'll re-notify you on a date. Like last time we did, we told you to be here this day, we will have to re-notify everybody again. So, okay, so I would take a motion to continue the hearing until further notice, I guess, and we'll re-notify everybody.
So
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, aye? Aye. All right. Take a motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned, do they accept the amendment number 2?
Yes,
Oh,
I think so.
okay.
The motion or accept amendment number 2 to the 18 engineering report.
Okay,
Can we do that at Monday's meeting?
we could do that Monday.
yeah, I mean, it's technically not on here.
Oh,
On this agenda, so,
Yeah, he brought it today, so
yeah,
just want to make sure.
sorry.
You're fine.
we are adjourned, everybody, thank you.
Okay.